Welcome one, welcome all to Pit Road Productions for the final round of the first season of the Niftylift Sportscar Series. A long and arduous championship for many of these drivers coming to an end here tonight at Sebring International Raceway. A very historic circuit that is a centerpiece of sports car racing the world over. The bumps are ready to accept a beating. Or is it the cars? Is it the other way around? We're not entirely certain. What we are certain of is it's going to be a fun show. Bringing it to you live here on YouTube. It's me, Reese Gardner, with Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me and also in the commentary booth. Well, Zippy, I've been looking forward to Sebring for a very long time. It's one of my favorite tracks to commentate races at, and it's been a while since I've seen GT3s here, so it's going to be a good show.
Absolutely, Reece. Certainly Sebring is on the Princess approved track list, but I'll be fair, I couldn't really compete with Rob on this one. He was keen to drive Sebring, and what can I say? He supports the Leafs. He's probably going to need to have something to cheer him up. Saying that, we could be in for a shock, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it's come down to the final game. Anybody who's not a hockey fan, I don't blame you, but anyone who is and anyone who supports the Leafs, you have my sympathy and my support. But certainly it's going to be a good one for sure. Certainly you're saying it could be the cars that take the bumps. It could also be the drivers as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, some of these guys just like being beaten on, and fair play to them, but you know, whatever floats your boat. But certainly looking at a little bit of a smaller field today, whether it be in the final round, the championship has indeed been tied up. We will announce that a little bit shortly. But Reece, let's take a look at where these drivers have been so far.
Yes, indeed. Back in March, we started at Daytona Speedway, going to Indianapolis for round 2, then Watkins Glen, Red Bull Ring, Montreal, and Le Mans. Those were the first 6 rounds of the championship where we weren't on board to broadcast. We started at Silverstone, and then Fuji, Spa, Monza, and Road Atlanta, where you guessed it. You were at Spa as well, but unfortunately didn't quite make it to the end of the race there. But ending the season here at Sebring. It's a fantastic schedule that this series had. It's all of your typical GT3 centric tracks, and I mean, they're classics for a reason, right?
Absolutely, Reece. And certainly, honestly, it was a pretty decent track selection. We do have information on the next season. It's going to get a rename, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the Elite Entertainment Sports Car Series, sponsored by WBM Racing, as far as I know. And so we did get rid of the Thursday show. MV Sim Sports will no longer be on Pit Road Productions, and for the foreseeable future. So WBM decided to upgrade and start joining partners with the likes of Adam Caps as well. So great to have these guys making a good connection. But let's have a quick look here at some of the cars. And not only that, this car in particular, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're wondering who this is, well, this is Drew Trader. And the reason we mention this, he's currently qualifying. Ladies and gentlemen, he's got it in the bag. This is your championship winner, the Transcendent Motorsport Chevrolet Corvette Z06 GT3-R, the number 25 of Drew Trader. Huge congratulations there to him. I have a feeling that next season may indeed have a lot more competition for him, though.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Drew. Putting on fantastic drives all throughout the season. The most consistent finisher of the series, and he's been here for the whole season as well. I think minus 1 round or so. But regardless, a fantastic job that Trader has done. 267 points coming into the final round of the season. Kalman Giori a distant second, with Tim Fiedler in third. Adam Caps, our series administrator here, 4th place. Matt Murphy rounding out your championship top 5. It's going to be getting a bit closer the further down you go. Drivers like Rob Campbell and the like, who came in late in the season, gathering up those points and making sure that they can elevate themselves up the standings a little bit further here in the final round of the season.
I'm going to say, at least they've got some points. I did 2 races and I didn't get I don't know if I was eligible to be scored at that point, but I was talking to Adam earlier actually and saying, look, you know, I'd like to have a Pit Road Productions entry for the next season. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be like a team championship per se, but we will have 1 car on the track each round. So Reece, you may end up being actually taken to the wheel as well if you get the urge. Certainly, I will be having some boss perks, I guess, and just going, okay, guys, I'll drive this, this, and this, and you guys fight amongst each other for who's going to drive the rest of it. But certainly, I think it'd be a little bit of fun for us here in the booth, because often we see the action, we want to drive in it. And actually, speaking of which, we got 2 drivers from Pit Road Productions out there today. Actually, we got more than that. We got 3 drivers out there today. We got Rob Campbell he's in the Acura today. Richard Swindells is out there. He is also in the Acura, but we also have Morgan Smith, ladies and gentlemen, rocking his GT3 of choice, that Ford Mustang.
Yes, and Morgan Smith has certainly gotten some good results in that Mustang thus far. He won the round at Spa, and he was very interestingly a bit slower than we expected at Monza. So let's see what he can do. Currently qualifying in 5th place. Of course, just a second left in qualifying, and that's it, run and done. Drivers that are on a lap right now will be able to finish it. Kyle Shelton is one of the drivers who we expect to be coming across the line very shortly, but potentially some reduced pace in that McLaren. We'll have to wait and see. Can he improve on 3rd place on the road? Needs to gain 2.5 tenths to get himself onto the front row.
I gotta admit, I'm really liking his paint today from Kyle Shelton. Definitely loving the colours on it and that. Very, very, very nice, actually. But is it me, or is that McLaren just sound even more savage than usual? I gotta say, it's really a pleasure to my eardrums today, Reese.
Yeah, I love the twin-turbo V8 that the McLaren runs. And the McLaren is good on straight line speed. He's a bit wide in Sunset Bend, though, so I think he might have just missed out on improving on that lap. Sebring, of course, a very fast circuit with a few long straights, so the McLaren should be strong here. It will be a 2:04.4 on that lap. Potentially could have been an improvement, but we'll have to wait and see on that. That's going to be qualifying, run and done. I think, Zippy, before we go through the grid, let's thank the sponsors one final time. Of course, we have Niftylift on board as the title sponsor of this season. One of the largest manufacturers of mobile elevating work platforms, or cherry pickers, in Europe, and selling throughout Europe, the USA, the Middle East, the Far East, Australia, and South Africa. They specialize in compact, low-weight articulating booms that offer maximum performance with minimal environmental impact. A huge thanks to Niftylift for coming on board to sponsor this first round of the series. Also, Elite Entertainment. Are you ready to turn your event into an unforgettable experience? At Elite Entertainment, they bring superior quality that keeps the dance floor packed. Whether it's a wedding, corporate event, private parties, karaoke, or music bingo at your local venues, Elite Entertainment's professional DJs know how to set the perfect vibe. They cover Western North Carolina and Upstate South Carolina. So book now and let Elite Entertainment make your event memorable. Well,
definitely
a great qualifying result for Drew Trader there. And, well, now it all comes down to this, the final round.
Yeah, just waiting for the session to tick over. I'm not sure what's holding it back, to be honest. There's no cars on track. It's gone past the time, and yet here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently waiting for the grid to populate. So, not quite sure. I'm assuming you've got the same on your end, Reese.
Yeah, no. It looks to me like the checkered flag is still waving in qualifying. So, we're just waiting for the final 15 seconds or so for the drivers to wait, and for us to wait as well, before they slot their way onto the grid around a very long formation lap here at Sebring. Or is it going to be long? I'm not sure where they're going to actually be gridding up here. The Ullman Straight would probably be a good place to start things out here. But the timer ticks down, and we're officially in the race session, which means it's time to go through the grid. We have 12 cars here today, and pole position will belong to champion-elect Drew Trader, with Kalman Giori, his closest championship rival, joining him on the front row. Kyle Shelton and Matt Murphy will be on our second row, with Morgan Smith and Fozzie Fazillo 5th and 6th. Richard Swindells and John Holloway will be your 4th row. Top 10 rounded out by Scott Harrer and Rob Campbell. Adam Capps and Tim Fiedler rounding out the field there. Campbell, Capps, and Fiedler did not set times in qualifying, so it's going to be interesting to see what their pace is ultimately like here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think Rob's just going to have a little bit of fun. He's definitely very competent in the GT3 car. And not only that, in a production booth as well. We got to give him credit where due. Huge props for her. But I do see a message from Morgan in the chat. No grip in my American Eagle tonight. She's sketchy. So, okay, Morgan Smith in the number 12 car. Looks like he's going to be having a very colourful race. Got to say, a good qualifying by Fozzie Fazillo. Definitely had a couple of rough races recently. Good to see him up in P6 as well. So, definitely see how well that McLaren works out for him. Definitely his car of choice. And if I remember rightly, he has beautiful bronze wheels on that as well. So definitely getting my love because of the paint colors.
Yeah, indeed. Do like those WBM paints, nice and clean. We have a great selection of liveries to choose from in this championship. Great view of the McLaren of Kyle Shelton there. Really love that red, white, and blue color scheme. And also seeing further back, it looks like Scott Harrer with a paint scheme that reflects his helmet in the blue and yellow Mercedes. That is a very striking scheme that he's got there.
Yeah, that's definitely a color scheme I could get on board with. I've always wanted bronze wheels recently. It just hasn't happened yet. It should. I have literally 9 cans of bronze wheel paint for about 7 or 8 years. So there's really no excuse why it shouldn't have happened. But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't met me before or you don't know, I do this beautiful thing. It begins with a P, not that. Procrastination, ladies and gentlemen, and definitely, you know, I have my moments where it's hard to get me motivated, but I think the biggest thing I've learned as I've got older, honestly, is, you know, with the right people, anything can be fun. Hence, I have a good time here with Reese in the booth on Pit Road Productions.
And I have a good time with you, Zippy. Looks
Piss
like
ass.
Morgan Smith. Hey, let's we'll sort out the extra few dollars after the stream, okay? I wanted to point out that Morgan Smith, he was very slow to get away from the grid there. I think maybe the car wasn't fired up, or potentially he was distracted. I'm not entirely sure, but he has formed back up now. A little bit of a delay to getting this formation lap started, but a slow motion tour around Sebring International Raceway. This is the braking zone that I find the most difficult when I'm driving around this track. There's a lot of bumps in the braking zone for the hairpin, and it feels like the braking point changes every single lap.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that, and certainly it's one of those where some people will be so incredibly late on the brakes, and you just ask yourself, like, how on earth have they done it? I generally tend to be a little bit conservative with the braking. I find while it can be, you know, if you want to be the ultimate competition, you know, braking as late as you can tends to be the quickest way. But for myself, I accept where I am with my skill level, and I try to brake a little bit early, a little bit gentle, and then focus on getting a nice clean exit. For me, I find, and for a lot of people, they find that that is the key to having much better pace. But certainly I myself, definitely not a driving instructor. Certainly if you want to go fast, I'm not your guy. If you do want to go fast, so definitely check out Swelio Almeida, ladies and gentlemen, the Almeida Academy. We do broadcast them on a Saturday, and definitely we've got a interesting season 3B at the minute as well. All sorts of variety with season 4 in the works as well. But if you want to get into a little bit of coaching, ladies and gentlemen, definitely check them out. You got the Academy, or you got things like the Motor Racing Checklist as well. Some very good content, and definitely seen the results so far.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to the next round of that. Coming out of Tower Turn here through the left-hand kinks to Gendebien. This is a very challenging sequence of the course, and you can certainly run side-by-side through those kinks in the GT3 class. I commentated a supercars race here on Sunday, and they definitely had a lot more trouble with that section of the circuit. What you're going to notice is going through that corner there at Le Mans, coming onto the Ullman Straight, they will use a lot of the runoff area and the outside to widen the entry into the corner. That could produce some difficulties when they're running side by side. It'll be difficult to know exactly where the car on the outside is if you're trying to pull a move. So worth keeping an eye out for that. And the run down the Ullman Straight is prime for slipstreaming. The braking zone into Sunset Bend, as challenging as it ever is. You got to get on the brakes on the entry here, and a curved braking zone over the bumps. There's a million lines through Sunset Bend, and none of them are the correct one. You're basically just ad-libbing the whole way through this sequence of the circuit. But it's time to start the run plan for the race. The green flag is waving as we speak, and Drew Trader is away to begin the final round of the Niftylift Sportscar Series from Sebring. Dominant into turn 1. Kyle Shelton moving up to second place. It looks like Kalmangiori not quite able to stick with them on the start there. Fazillo getting over the grass on the way out of turn 1. Very deep on the brakes. Meanwhile, for Rob Campbell, he almost rear-ended Morgan Smith into turn 3.
Oh, don't get me wrong, those two guys are indeed friendly, but I don't think they're that friendly, as it looks like Fozzie Pizzillo there, a wall of cars ahead of him, absolutely loving the bronze wheels, but right now he's behind the Audi R8, definitely not one of the more popular cars in the GT3 class, but one that I think is a little bit underestimated. Does that look like Pizzillo going for a dive up the inside, and yes, he's got it done on the inside of Matt Murphy. Now looks like he's giving his teammate Morgan Smith a run for his money as well.
Oh, Smith nailing the power out of the hairpin, though. The outside line can certainly work through that section. The top three have broken away. Trader, Shelton, and Giori with a huge gap to the rest of the field as Campbell defends from the Audi R8 of Matt Murphy. And it looks like it's a race of two battles here. Battle for the lead, battle for fourth. That's what you've got at the moment.
Definitely some good battles going on indeed. It looks like Morgan Smith is leading this pack. Calvin Gorey, he's there. He's up in that lead pack. A freeway fight, as you were saying. Drew Trader currently in the lead. But Morgan Smith now, he is the cork in the stopper. And I honestly feel he's got the pace to be able to pull away. But not only that, Rob Campbell, he's up 4 spots, as is Tim Fiedler as well. So Tim Fiedler, one of the lower iRating drivers in this series. But you know what? It doesn't mean a damn thing. He has shown incredible pace and potential so far here in the Niftylift Sportscar Series.
Yeah, and Fiedler has changed cars for this final round. We've got used to seeing him in an Acura. He's in a Corvette now, and it certainly brought him an extra few tenths, it seems.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. But I do believe that does. That's why he didn't set a qualifying time, Reese, because if you change cars, you do get an end-of-line penalty. But it looks like Pizzillo is currently getting a bit of pressure there from our Pit Road Productions' very finest Rob Campbell.
Yeah, having a look up the inside into turn 1. Tight entry into the first corner here. And turn 1 at Sebring is one of the most difficult corners in the world for my money. That's another huge dive by Campbell at turn 3. He just manages to pull it up, and Fazillo saw him coming from a long way back. Left him that room on the inside. Oh dear, I get the feeling something might erupt between those two soon enough. Shelton's in trouble too. Kalmangiori pulls out, and in the hairpin he's going to go for the move up the inside. And at entry he gets it done. Shelton, I think, deciding, yeah, probably I managed to hold on to second for the first lap or so, but evidently Giori has the pace, so back through he goes. Swindells, meanwhile, fighting for the last couple positions in the top 10 with our league admin Adam Capps ahead of him, and John Holloway behind. Holloway started in 9th. He's actually lost 2 positions to these guys, so he's looking to make a recovery himself.
Yeah, definitely there's all sorts of battles going on right now. As honestly, if Rob Campbell gets any closer, he's going to give Pizzillo a free prostate exam. As you see him go a little bit wide there, maybe getting a little bit too exuberant, maybe getting the brake markers hidden a little bit behind the rear wing of that McLaren, but very much still under some pressure there. Matt Murphy looking to get a good sniff as well. Currently down 3 positions, but still very much in the pack as well. I do wonder how Tim Fiedler decided to change out to the Corvette. As you see him there doing exactly what you said would happen, Reese, for carrying it a little bit wide.
Yeah, for sure. The curb there on the exit of Le Mans is one that you can definitely use, but on entry, you want to try and widen the entry into the corner as much as you can, so it's difficult to really pick the apex for that corner. Well, Matt Murphy here in the Audi, one of the cars in the GT3 class that is less polite over the bumps. He's managing quite well. And Fazillo's still leading the battle for 5th now, but Campbell, his favourite passing spot, has been turn 3 here, and he's going for it again, but this time not quite as much of a dive. Fazillo's still running a little bit wide though, so looks like Campbell might have a go at turn 5.
He's definitely applying a healthy amount of pressure. We'll put it like that. He's very much giving... I think that was a bump draft then.
Yeah, just a little bit. Fazillo going defensive here. He's forcing Campbell to pick a lane. It's the outside line for the Acura. And Fazillo will protect the inside, but Campbell gets on the power and will match him just about on the exit. It's not quite enough.
I gotta say, this is an absolutely fantastic race, and I'm loving the camera car here. Rob Campbell getting some beautiful shots of that McLaren. I'm a sucker for the bronze wheels, Reese. We know it. We know it. You could sell me a Dodge Caravan if it had bronze wheels, and I would still find it awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'm a sucker for bronze wheels. How have I not ended up with a Sebring? But oh, looking to make a move there, potentially. Or is he playing a little bit of the mind punt? But certainly the 93 car having a good battle here with the number 61 of Fozzie Fazzillo.
Yeah, plenty of passing opportunities at Sebring, especially around the back. But it looks like Fazzillo is putting his car in all the right places to make it difficult for Campbell to make a move. Just as I say that, he runs wide at Gendebien, and it looks like Campbell got a bit compromised as well. It's going to bring Matt Murphy closer to the both of them. They run over the curb with a little bit of grass being picked up by Rob Campbell there. He's pushing as hard as he can to get that run down the straights. But as we mentioned in qualifying, the McLaren is one of the stronger GT3 cars down the straights here. So I think that's the reason why we saw Campbell making those dives early on. He wanted to get it done there, as that's very wide for Fazzillo. Bit too late on the brakes coming into Sunset Bend, and Campbell is just about through, but Fazzillo will have the inside line for turn one. They make contact down the straight. Campbell running out wide to widen the entry into the corner. Fazzillo the first to the wall, but more speed from Campbell, and the Acura is finally through to fifth.
He had to work very hard for that, and I don't know how Fozzie's feeling about that. Definitely, we'll have to see if we do get a switchback, or indeed if that's just, you know, what Rob needed to get by. But Morgan Smith's going to be next on the chopping block, and you know what? Fair play, Fozzie. That was some absolutely fantastic defensive driving there. I wouldn't want to have Rob Campbell behind me, like, not because he's quick, but because, you know, he knows how to place that car. You really got to work hard. And not only that, I mean, the guy's nearly 3,300 iRating as well. I'm not in that league, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong. Most people are not in my league. I'm too far down in the dumps. But you take that as you wish, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit of self-deprecating humor for your entertainment. But let's check in very quickly with the lead back. And that is the case of Drew Trader out there in front by about 2.5 second lead right now. He's just showboating at this point in that Corvette. Definitely having fun there. And also a huge shout out to him for doing a lot of the graphics as well behind the scene for Adam Capps there for the Elite Entertainment. But Cameron Gorey not quite out of the woods yet. He still has Kyle Shelton in that McLaren closely behind in third.
Yes, we'll keep an eye out on the car medic McLaren here to see if he'll be able to pull a move. See, there he goes across the concrete, but he's just a little bit wide at the apex. You know, you see the esports pros going for that line. Both Richard Swindells and Adam Capps going for it too. But you can see that, like, picking your turn-in point when you do that is so difficult. There's not really any reference points out there on the concrete. So the majority of the time, in my experience, I just miss the apex.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely been known to miss an apex or two, you know, once or twice, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, I get completely what you mean. It's probably the biggest reason I really struggle with Silverstone as a track, because I just find it so wide and so spacious. It's so difficult to get an actual grasp of where you are, and definitely for me, I find that difficult. Don't get me wrong, Sebring has sections that are quite wide, but once you head into like this section here, it all becomes a lot more manageable, and I find personally for me that makes for a better racetrack.
Yeah, reference points are certainly a nice option to have, aren't they? But you don't get many of them round the back at Sebring, down the Ullman Straight, etc. Here is where the access roads and base roads for the former U.S. Army Airfield Hendricks make up a lot of the racetrack's route, and as a result they are narrower, and there's a bit more actual bitumen as opposed to just concrete on the airfield sections of the circuit.
I do love the fact how you always have such interesting facts about the race circuit. I am going to have to... maybe we should try and get you over to Nova Scotia at some point, Reese. You need a holiday, buddy. You need a holiday. Come on over to Nova Scotia. We'll look after you. Come do some commentary with me in the real world, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a go at that. And certainly we can see what you can learn out about my local track of Atlantic Motorsport Park. But right now, this is the closest battle we've got happening on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. About half a second in it. The lead battle, actually, as well. I say the lead. The second and third place battle, if I'm not mistaken. Apparently incredibly close, about 7 tenths as well. But right now, Adam Capps, league admin, apparently getting some pressure there from Richard Swindells, the old-timer in the number 16.
Yeah, Swindells took a bit to build his pace up, but he's been following Caps all the way through here. They've left John Holloway and Scott Harrer behind, and battling hard over 9th spot. Only the two closest battles on the circuit include this and the battle for second between Cameron Giori and Kyle Shelton, but this one is definitely closer as Swindells angles the corner a bit more to the inside for Sunset Bend. And there's a few different lines that you can take, as I mentioned at the end of the formation lap there. It looks like Swindells, he was trying to go for that sort of tighter exit, and you can straighten up the car a bit later there and get a better run through. But sometimes taking the wide line and carrying more momentum is the way to go, and that's what Adam Caps did there. It really all comes down to driver preference. It's a very rare kind of corner, Sunset Bend, where it doesn't really matter what line you take. You'll end up more or less the same on the exit.
Yeah, definitely one of the more challenging corners. Oh, I mean, it depends how you see it. I mean, with there being so many different lines, it's easier to get the corner right. But what's this now? Richard Swindells. That's a little bit of a send. I didn't see that coming.
That's a big dive up the inside. And, well, much like Fozzie Fazillo and Rob Campbell, Adam Caps saw him coming and thought, okay, I'm just going to go wide and let you have the space, and I'll get the outside run on the exit, picking up the throttle a bit earlier. Looks like Swindells is starting to dial up the pressure, though, seeing a bit more of aggressive moves here from the number 16.
Yeah, that definitely took me by surprise. He's generally a low-risk, high-reward kind of guy, and his finish rate is absolutely fantastic as a result in comparison to mine, which is, well, it's not, but certainly, he's generally, he'll get there in his own general kind of pace and, rely a little bit on mistakes from others, but certainly that's not something we tended to see in this field very often. The drivers generally quite safe, very consistent, and not too many incidents to report as well. But you can see that the gap getting even closer. That was a huge amount of time gain. Is this going to be the opportunity he's been looking for to get one up over on Adam Caps? And yet he's gone by. I suspect Caps had a slowdown. He just backed right out of that.
Yeah, would have gotten a slowdown through Le Mans potentially. A bit too much taken out of the inside of the corner. So Swindells is finally through, and the battle for now is over. But we'll see if Caps will be able to pick up some pace here. He's coming into the pits. Of course, pit stops are going to happen here in this 45-minute race. There is a fuel tank restriction, so Caps, I think, taking that opportunity. Yeah, I've got the slowdown. Let's just take the pain now and get the pit stop done, and then he can work on a bit of consistency. You speak of consistency and not making mistakes. Unfortunately, John Holloway had a problem on lap 6. It was coming out of the Cunningham corner, and he just ran a bit wide, caught the grass. Then the traction control kicked in, and he couldn't arrest the slide. Big contact with the wall there for Holloway. But looks like visually not much damage to the car from that, so I think he might have gotten away with it.
I think he did get away with that, but certainly that is a Kyle Mills approved paint, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely the Bold Eagle machine would very much approve of that. Literally has an eagle on the side of it. So Kyle Mills, if you're watching, one of the newer staff here at Pit Road Productions, that paint's very much up your street.
Certainly is. I do like the black and silver scheme as well for John Holloway. Well, keep our eyes peeled on the battle between Matt Murphy and Tim Fiedler. Fiedler, of course, has suffered a couple of minor errors over the course of the race thus far, but he's built up some pace once again. He and Matt Murphy not too far behind Fozzie Fazillo. It's only a matter of a couple of seconds, so any mistake from Fazillo will bring these guys right into it.
Yeah, definitely. Fozzie still has a little bit of a gap there, about 2.5 seconds roughly. So he's got a bit of breathing room, but definitely not enough that I would relax too much. You look at it from that view, it's a bit more, but certainly if you go into the blimp cam, yeah, these guys aren't that far away.
Yeah, not too far at all. And you see the variance of lines right there. Tim Fiedler was a little bit narrower on entry than Matt Murphy was, and coming out of the corner, they sort of blended onto the same line. So yeah, it's all about how you navigate the bumps, especially under the bridge in that section. Sebring is one of the, I think, just about the only racetrack in the world that keeps its surface minimally maintained on purpose. The bumps are that crucial to the character of the circuit that they do everything they can to keep them.
Oh, I'm actually down for that, because some people will say, oh, okay, you know, the track's got too bumpy and stuff like that, but for me, that's part of the challenge. Like, you don't go to Road Atlanta and say, oh my gosh, there's too much elevation change. You know, it is part of the character.
Yeah, exactly, and there's not much elevation change to speak of at Sebring. It is a former airfield, after all, so have to get some extra challenge to navigating this circuit. Fiedler, though, still gaining on Matt Murphy here. They were very close on the last lap in terms of time. Fiedler was only 0.03 of a second slower than Murphy, and he's starting to round him up here on this lap.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say as well, really enjoying the paints here in this series. You know, it's a good selection as well. Certainly, actually, I'm thinking of one particular individual who often puts a different celebrity very crudely pasted all over their car. I could do with that sense of humor today, and despite my request for Sofia Vergara, he's still not complied. So definitely, you know, Dylan Newhart, if you're watching, subtle hint.
A very subtle hint indeed. Well, shame that Newhart isn't here tonight, but we still have some great racing to think about here in this field of what is now 11, because it looks like Adam Capps has retired from the final race of the season. Pulled into the pits and disconnected. So, not entirely sure what went wrong there for Adam, but we do thank him for putting this series together and getting us on board, and hopefully we see him on track again very, very soon. Tim Fiedler gaining further on Matt Murphy. Across the line they come, and wow, that is 0.5 of a second that Tim Fiedler took out of Matt Murphy on that lap. 2:04.1 versus a 2:03.6. This Corvette is looking rapid.
Yeah, he's definitely applying the pressure, and this could be it as they head down into this left-hander. And look, he's absolutely sent it up on the inside. A good clean move. Side by side, almost looked like there was going to be contact there. Incredibly close racing, but very respectful nonetheless, as the Audi's going to have to go the long way around. A little bit of a wiggle there from Fiedler. He's able to keep it in check, but he will indeed live another day. Prime passing opportunity coming, but can he close the gap down? Can he get the work done in the braking area? Certainly no Porsches on tracks today, but if you wanted to win in the braking zone, the Porsche 911 GT3, generally the car of choice.
Yeah, for sure. No Porsches here today, though.
That's shocking.
Yeah, that is very interesting indeed. It's dominated by the mid-engine cars, really. The only non-mid-engine car in the field, or rather engine behind the driver, is this one, Scott Harrer. He's, I guess you could still call the Mercedes a mid-engine car because the engine is behind the front axle, but it is ahead of the driver. So it's still got that front engine rear wheel drive sort of character that I do really enjoy. And Harrah's keeping it consistent out there, remaining in 10th spot for the time being. Kyle Shelton, though, starting to gain here. Morgan Smith and Rob Campbell, they are gaining on him, though. Cullen Giori maintaining the gap of about 2 seconds for the time being in second place, but the battle for third is starting to heat up.
Yeah, definitely. Rob Campbell is looking very feisty here in that Acura, the Double Apex machine. Certainly, if you want to watch him on YouTube, check out Double Apex, ladies and gentlemen. It might be Double Apex TV, but just put in Double Apex anyway and look for an older fella with a absolutely gorgeous setup and a lot more driving talent than even myself or Reese. Sorry, buddy. We get a vintage car, you're the man, but I believe... Oh, no.
Oh, that's
Something's
in
the pit lane.
Oh, dear. Tim Fiedler. Massive damage to the Corvette there. Oh, he just got on the power a bit too hard. Coming out of Sunset Bend. Over the bumps, the traction control kicks in, and the slide keeps going. Well, Fiedler has no choice but to come into the lane there. Actually, yeah, well, there's plenty of scuffs there on the front of the car as a result of that, but I'm actually surprised that these cars are surviving those hits. Is damage reduced?
I don't think there is a way of reducing damage, but I do believe there's a fast repair. Yep, there you go. There is indeed a fast repair. So, in all things considered, you know what? If you're going to have a spin, that's probably the best place to do it. He did manage to lose a little bit of time there coming into the pits, but it wasn't catastrophic. But I believe something has happened with John Holloway as well just a few short moments ago.
Holloway in the American Eagle Corvette, and it's on entry to Sunset Bend this time. Just little skittish over the bumps and spinning around, losing time as a result. It's a reasonable track temperature here at Sebring, 37 Celsius. Those of you in the United States can do the Fahrenheit conversion yourselves. I don't have that brain capacity. But, yeah, I don't think the tyres are really overheating all that much. I think it's just as they're being worn in, it's becoming a bit more difficult to maintain that consistency through this triple apex final corner.
Yeah, definitely a challenging set of circumstances as Morgan Smith now is going to bring it down pit lane. Another one of the drivers going for the earlier pit stop, actually. Both himself and Tim Fiedler being the first ones in the pits, although I have to admit, I don't think Fiedler's was on the intentional side. Adam Cap, sadly, has departed the session. Matt Murphy coming in the pits as well.
Right, so these are our first scheduled pit stops, I suppose, from Smith and Murphy. And we'll get an eye in as to what kind of pit stop times we can expect from this round. That'll promote Richard Swindells to 6th, Rob Campbell to 4th, Carl Shelton remaining in 3rd, and Morgan Smith's pit stop, 16.6 seconds. That looks pretty reasonable from my point of view. Scott Harrer jumping into the pit lane just as Morgan Smith comes out of it. And actually, I tell a lie. That Mercedes is not the only front-engine car in the field. I forgot about the Mustang.
Oh, that's fair. But in fairness, so did I. As you see here, this could get interesting now. Oh, that's a little close. Oh, dear. So John Holloway, he's got some company, and that is Matt Murphy right behind him. But Holloway still yet to make a pit stop.
Yes.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Tim Fiedler on his way through the turns leading onto the Ullman straight, too wide at Jean de Bien, and the rear end went on him. Seems like, oh, he's escaped. He's gone back to the pits. I think that might be a retirement there from our number 77. That's a real shame. He was having a bit of trouble with the rear end, and I think it might have gotten too much for him.
Yeah, definitely from my understanding of the Corvette, and certainly the little experience I've had driving it, it is definitely a little bit twitchy. Don't get me wrong, you can adjust out to a certain point with the setup, but this series is a fixed setup set, and they don't want drivers basically... Oh! Oh, no!
Oh!
What
Goodness
happened
me,
there?
Holloway. Yeah, that was... that's a very typical thing you see at Sebring there. When you start turning left through Cunningham, sometimes you can hit the curb wrong, or the sharp change of direction can unsettle the car there, and the rear end will go. Looks like that's what happened to Holloway.
Definitely an unfortunate event indeed, but the Corvette, as I was saying just a moment ago, it does have a little bit of instability at times, definitely a little bit harder to handle. I've seen some people be incredibly talented with the Corvette, but I think out of all the GT3s, it's probably one of the more sharper edge swords, you could say. Sure, it can cut incredibly sharply, but it definitely takes a little bit more skill to be able to wield it. Certainly, you know, it's all about driver characteristics. Like, I've been trying to drive the Lambo a little bit, and that thing is notoriously tricky at times.
Yeah, some GT3 cars are a bit more compliant than others. And the McLaren, I think, has proven to be one of the more compliant of the GT3 class. The Acura is, on balance of performance, one of the quicker cars in the field, but it does have a bit of a nervous rear, which has certainly ended many a race from other broadcasts I've done in GT3 cars. But Rob Campbell making good use of it here, and rounding up on the McLaren of Kyle Shelton.
Oh, here we go.
Going for the slightly tighter line into Le Mans, and he's out and through into 3rd.
Well, if Rob Campbell was indeed a biscuit, he would be a jammy Dodger. Certainly having a little bit of cheeky luck there, but I gotta say, Kyle Shelton, he's not taking that lane down. He is absolutely still applying the pressure there as they're heading down into sunset. Beautiful, beautiful, battle going on here, and both of these drivers yet to make a pit stop as well.
Yeah, got to wait and see what their strategy will ultimately be. Rob Campbell, the quickest car on the circuit that time by, with a 202.7. And Fozzie Fazillo behind them has come into the pit lane. That's our next pitter there. And second of the WBM cars to make their way in. Richard Swindell's flying by, still yet to take a stop. That leaves just our top 5 at the moment that haven't visited the pit lane this race.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been, when it comes to pit strategy, especially when there's a fast repair available, I will tend to keep going as long as I possibly can, because if you pit early and then, for lack of better words, bin it, that fast repair, all right, you may still have it available, but you're going to have to come back down pit lane. So I generally try to go for the later pit stop. Don't get me wrong, you don't make a race strategy planning on having a little whoops. I just more take the safer option, because I just accept where I'm at, I guess, for that skill level. Definitely not had much success in the GT3s, but I am hearing a lot of gossip today, and I'm not generally a gossip man, but apparently the GT3s are getting a new tyre model, Reese.
Yes, they are. iRacing released their development update for the upcoming build, and they have worked on refreshing the tyres of the entire GT3 class, plus some aerodynamic tweaks as well to improve sort of side aero in slides. So what that ultimately should mean is your tyres won't be destroyed if you have a single spin or a slide, and you'll be able to sort of push the limit a little bit more. And it'll certainly be interesting to see how those changes affect the racing in GT3 championships across the world on this platform.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Whenever you get a new tyre model in the sim, it can often be a little bit of an equalizer, because people have to basically recalibrate to it. And myself, I've not managed to recalibrate to the GT3s for a good couple of years now. Like, that's where I'm at, and I can remember when the Spec Fords did get a new tyre model. That's what I like to drive, ladies and gentlemen. But Drew Trader, your championship winner, he's actually bringing it down pit lane right now, which puts Calvin Gorey up onto the lead lap. Well, lead position, sorry.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Drew making his way in, and, well, we're seeing pit stops from Kyle Shelton and Rob Campbell as well. Richard Swindell's has brought it in. So Kalman Giori is the real outlier here. He's the only one to continue on for an extra lap here. And pit stop time for Drew Trader is pretty consistent with what we've seen. But, oh no, tyres going on the McLaren of Kyle Shelton. That is a disastrous decision there. He's going to fall behind Campbell, and that's going to put him behind Morgan Smith as well, who's already come into the lane and now up into 4th. Going to be immediately, I think, challenging Campbell for effective 3rd place.
Yeah, definitely. Morgan was saying how that Mustang is a little bit on the looser side, but having just taken that undercut, it may actually work out in his favor. It remains to be seen. Certainly a riskier maneuver, but I gotta say, Kyle Shelton, it is a shame he took tires. Don't get me wrong. On some series, you can get away with taking like one tire. Certainly, I'm thinking of some Twitch streamers, Drew Swank, for example, where he will take one tire when he's doing a GT3 race, but that tends to be like a 40-minute race, full tanks and stuff like that. And you can get away with it. You need to put in enough fuel that it justifies the pit time. But myself, the idea of having one tire cold just doesn't sit well for me, Reese.
Yeah, doesn't sit well for me either. It would really make the car unbalanced. Tell you what, though, Kyle Shelton, despite taking those tires, his pit stop time has actually worked out better than everyone ahead of him. Only by a couple of tenths, but it was still around a 16-second pit stop for Shelton, which I find curious.
Yeah, maybe he's onto something that we're not quite savvy on, because he was behind Campbell a little bit, but don't get me wrong, it wasn't like a 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. So definitely interesting to see what happened there. As Calvin Gorey has come in the pits now, this could be very, very interesting indeed. Let's see exactly where True Trader is going to come out. He's going to be the next one in competition. Don't get me wrong. Drew Trader was ahead by a decent margin, but has Calvin Gorey managed to save enough fuel that he can leapfrog ahead to the front of the field?
This is the question. As Trader exits the final corner, Giori is just a few seconds away from his pit stop being complete. Trader's going to sweep by and into the lead just as Giori pulls away from his pit box. Is Giori in trouble versus Rob Campbell? Doesn't look like it. There is going to be more momentum here for the cars that have just come out of the lane, but there's Giori in the distance, re-emerging onto the racetrack. Don't forget the GT3s start with pretty warm tyres, and Rob Campbell pushing maybe a bit too hard trying to catch up.
Oh, I know he is a big fan of David Hasselhoff and maybe just wants to go to the beach and relive the 80s, ladies and gentlemen. Go buy himself a Pontiac Trans Am, put a red light in it, and call it kit. Whatever floats your boat, ladies and gentlemen. But Kyle Shelton is starting to catch up to the back of the WBM leader, Morgan Smith, who's currently about, well, he's up 1 position overall for the day. Rob Campbell, the hard charger, with 7 positions gained, did not set a qualifying time. But I do wonder, can Shelton catch up to the back of that Mustang?
This is the question. I mean, we are certain of the McLaren's supremacy in a straight line. It certainly cuts through the air, potentially a bit better than the Mustang. But it's all about the pace over a few laps, and Morgan Smith has been mighty consistent in this race. He's been able to deal with that Mustang's looseness very effectively. Shelton, we'll have to see when he puts his first lap down here, what advantage he'll gain. Smith a bit wide there out of tower, able to keep the momentum up, even though he ran over the gravel.
Yeah, definitely. Some people actually will take the gravel and find it works out quicker for them. Myself, not my kind of roulette. I do try to keep it on the asphalt, ladies and gentlemen, as I believe something has happened to John Holloway again. I don't really want to go back to it. The poor guy's had a bit of a rough night, but I kind of want to see as well.
Well, we'll see what happened to Holloway here once again at Sunset Bend. This time was on the extreme exit. You could see how the Corvette was taking those bumps. It just, the rear end so stiff. It just wasn't playing ball with him. It was already wide, and well, he tried to straighten the wheel out, but the car's rear end was already gone at that point. It must be so frustrating there for Holloway.
Yeah, it looks like a very similar incident as what happened to Tim Fiedler there. So fair play to him, as Fiedler has actually left the session, ladies and gentlemen, understandably so. But I think the closest battle again is going to be between these two gentlemen, Morgan Smith and Kyle Shelton.
So, just about 14 minutes remaining in this race. 13 minutes, actually. It just ticked over. So we're in those final stages. This is where the drivers will be really mounting their challenges. Rob Campbell is catching up to Kalman Giori now, and Campbell was the fastest car on track last time by. Giori still getting those tyres sort of massaged into prime form. Let's see what Campbell will be able to do from here. He's obviously been very aggressive on the stop pedals. It looks like Richard Swindells has passed Matt Murphy for 7th spot. Looked like a textbook maneuver at the hairpin.
Well, let's take another quick look at that, because these guys weren't even that close together just a few moments ago. So Swindells definitely pulled something out of the bag as, yep, these two cars, absolutely beautiful move there. Well called, Reese.
Lovely stuff. That's how you get it done at the hairpin at Sebring. Swindells, unfortunately, has about 5 seconds to make up versus Fozzie Fazillo. So, I don't know if there's going to be a change of position there, but there could be a change of position for 4th, because Morgan Smith is starting to catch up. Kyle Shelton is starting to catch up to Morgan Smith. And we still have to think about the battle between Giori and Campbell as well. There's a bit more space between those two, but here comes Kyle Shelton in the slipstream of the WBM Mustang, and that's very late on the brakes for Sunset Bend. Don't want to unsettle the car too much. Gear up the exit. Runs a little bit wider than Smith does, though, and that loses out a little bit of time on the exit.
Yeah, I just had a message from Adam Capps as well, league admin. He's not feeling too well tonight, and we just want to wish him here and a huge thank you, first of all. And obviously a big get well soon as well. We're looking forward to having you back for Season 2, but definitely get well soon, buddy. Definitely, do what you need to do. Take some time, and it's okay to be human, Don't get me wrong. Being a league admin, being a boss, being a manager, being a business owner as well. He's got elite entertainment, It can be very demanding. And not everybody always understand that. And fair play to him. Sometimes you just need to, okay, I'm down for a minute and just recover. So, Adam, it's okay to be down for a minute. Take your time, get back, and feel better soon.
Yeah, indeed. Putting on great drives throughout the season was Adam Capps. Also here for every single round of the championship. Kyle Shelton, though, versus Morgan Smith for 4th place. We'll see if there's any challenge that can be mounted by this McLaren. He is looking very rapid. Don't forget, Shelton qualified in 3rd. So he lost out a little bit in the pit cycle, potentially. You know, it is interesting, though, because I think Morgan Smith, I think it might have been his outlap that really made the difference on the pit cycle, because I'm looking at those numbers. Smith was about half a second slower in the through the pit lane than Kyle Shelton was, and his pit stop was almost a full second longer.
Definitely some interesting numbers indeed, but right now the numbers I am super interested in is just how close this is getting, because we don't just have this battle emerging, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Campbell's caught up to the back of Kalman Gory. He's got that gap down to 7/10 of a second.
Yeah, good lap again from Rob Campbell on the previous lap, 2:02.6 versus a 2:03.1 for Kalman Giori. And we'll see what the lap times are like this time. The gap has stayed kind of static, but maybe a little bit less room between the cars. Across the line they come, and it's another 5/10 that Rob Campbell's taken out of Giori on this lap. I mean, every time I look at them, it doesn't look like they're that close together, but clearly Campbell is making up time in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, with just 4 minutes left to go, though, if he wants to get a move done, he's going to have to do it quickly. Certainly a lot still at stake. And then not only that, Morgan Smith back and forth. He's about 3.6 seconds behind. He's got Kyle Shelton there in tow. If these two guys start fighting for the podium, this could be some good opportunity here for the number 12 and the 21.
Yes, indeed. Looks like Campbell is still the fastest of the four drivers. Smith and Shelton both also running a bit slower than Kalman Giori as well. But if there's any sort of coming together, if there's a bit of side-by-side between Giori and Campbell, they will absolutely take advantage. Looks like Rob Campbell actually losing a little bit of time there to Giori through the sort of turn 10 section. Potentially got a slowdown, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that gap is now well over a second between the two of them, and a little bit wide in tower turn for Morgan Smith. Again, though, that's another one of those corners where if you run a bit wide of the geometric apex of the corner, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, definitely Sebring a somewhat forgiving track in some ways, unless you get to the bumpy stuff. But, you know, it does definitely take a lot of technique. It's forgiving in some ways, but that's like, you know, in terms of, you know, if you do happen to get it a little bit wrong, you know, there's runoffs, there's stuff like that. There's a lot of different lines you can take through corners. But certainly, you know, to be optimum here, you definitely, the margins are indeed quite finite. You need to focus on getting them clean exit speeds, and that is exactly what Kyle Shelton is going to have to do if he wants to get ahead of the number 12 Mustang of Morgan Smith.
Both of them very wide in different places through Sunset Bend, and looks like the exit will belong to Morgan Smith for now. 7 minutes remaining, 4 laps to go for these drivers. It's a very long lap here at Sebring. The track is 6 kilometers long, which is a length that you don't usually see. Rob Campbell, though, catching back up to Kalman Giori here. They set roughly the same lap time on the previous lap, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I think Giori might have had a problem out of turn 1.
Definitely, it's possible. If you go into turn 1 a little bit hot, you've really got to back it off. And certainly, you know what, it's definitely better than eating the dirt. And, you know, you've got to weigh up the risk versus reward. But you can see there, it looked like a little bit of a twitch there from both of the drivers there. So I do wonder, are the tyres starting to struggle a little bit here with the heat? Certainly at 45 minutes, they're not going to be done, but they may indeed start to plateau a little bit. Definitely not a GT3 expert myself. I'd actually consult Morgan Smith on that kind of question. Yeah,
of course. Maybe that'll be an opportunity for learning from him. But yeah, you're right. This surface here at Sebring is definitely low grip. You know, it's mostly concrete around here, and the thing that you need to remember with asphalt versus concrete is asphalt is very porous. It's a very rough surface. So as rubber is laid down on the surface, it kind of sinks in. But with concrete, the rubber actually sits on top of the surface. It can't soak in. So that means concrete can generally be a bit slipperier at times, you know, depending on the track temperature. If it's hot, it's going to be very slippery. If it's cold, then that rubber is going to provide all the grip in the world. Well, here comes the grip for Rob Campbell as he dives up the inside of Sunset Bend on Kalman Giori. But Kalman, yeah, a little bit more momentum around the outside there for the number 71. Campbell is as close as he's ever been to getting second place here with 5 minutes to go as they cross the line. And diving to the inside of turn 1. It widens on entry, narrows up a lot on exit. Campbell has got it. Oh, no, he hasn't. Side by side again. Giori with more of a run out of turn 1. Campbell finally completes the move into turn 3.
Yeah, I don't think this battle is over yet. Calvin Gory definitely looking to fight back, and certainly he can be more potent when pushed. But maybe that's it. He just backed off a good chunk there. Maybe he said, you know what, I'm good with being in third place. But I'm pretty doubtful at this point. Rob Campbell is not a championship threat, and certainly, you know what, it's the last race of the season. Go all out.
That's what you want to see. Really love seeing the drivers sort of take the gloves off a little bit. In the final round of a championship season, Kyle Shelton has lost a bit of time to Morgan Smith, about 2/10 over the previous lap. So the McLaren is going to have to really pull out all the stops here to try and get the move done. Nice aggressive entry into Collier and out of Cunningham. It looks like he keeps the gap more or less consistent, but it seems like Morgan Smith is very strong in this area of the circuit. It's all about those corner exits, and the Mustang seems a bit more planted.
Yeah, definitely out of the two. I've only driven the Mustang a handful of times, and I've generally preferred the McLaren, but it's been very dependent on the setup. The McLaren I've found is either very numb or the complete opposite. And on a fixed setup, you don't really have the choice, especially where you pick the car for the season or face an end-of-line penalty. And certainly I think that's a fantastic rule, but that is that gap's been pretty consistent, around half a second for a good number of laps now. I do have to wonder, is Kyle Shelton holding off, going to make a move in the very closing stages of this race?
Close runnings into the braking zone for Sunset. Very tight to the wall there for Kyle Shelton. The issue with that line is the bump underneath the bridge is actually more intense the more towards the inside of the corner you get. So if you run a tiny bit wide, it's actually the better line. And that's what Morgan Smith managed to do. He's a little bit late on entry into turn 1, both of them collecting a bit of dust on the exit of the corner. But now it's all about who gets the better exit out of turn 5. This is a brilliant corner. I love this one. It tightens up all the way through, and then you've got to really nail the exit to get the run through. Big bend down to the hairpin. It looks like Smith is doing just enough to keep Shelton at bay, but we will still have a lap to go after this one. There's every chance that there could be a mistake.
Yeah, definitely the pressure is indeed clocking down, and certainly with just a lap to go, it's going to be incredibly tight as the battle continues up in P2 as well. Rob Campbell currently holding on, but Calvin Gory definitely not falling off the back. He's still managing to keep it within a good 6/10 of a second. Looking to try and regain that position, but can he get it done? As it looks like Matt Murphy and Richard Swindell, these guys going at it as well. 7/10 of a second in a gap.
Matt Murphy gained half a second just about on Swindell's on the previous lap. So it seems like Richard here maybe not having the best of times late on in the running. But seems like he nailed the exit of Collier and Cunningham there, and the gap is ballooning back out. So Swindell seems safe for now. That last lap was just a blip, as you could see on that graphic at the bottom of the screen. Meanwhile, slipstream for the McLaren. Shelton versus Smith, and creeping ever closer. What kind of lines are we going to see through Sunset Bend this time here? The white flag is out for Drew Trader, and that's a big dive to the inside, and Morgan Smith was really struggling to keep the car straight there. It looks like the Mustang's tires have finally given up the ghost.
Well, he did say in chat that it was getting a little sketchy, and fair play to him. He did manage to hold on to that. I do want to take a quick look at the replay, because that looked incredibly hairy from Morgan Smith.
Certainly did. Yeah, already wide on the entry into the corner, and then he's off the racing line with big helpings of oversteer twice through the corner. Well done to Morgan Smith for keeping that car straight. Unfortunately, it has lost him 4th place. Kyle Shelton doing everything right there. And Smith having further issues on the exit of turn 5. It looks like the McLaren might be safe.
It may be, but for how long? Certainly, if he's going to get a move back, he's going to have to do it quickly. I suspect it's going to happen going into sunset, as Rob Campbell now, he's currently managed to pull away that gap to about 9/10 of a second over Calvin Gorey. But Calvin Gorey definitely not out of the mix yet. Drew Trader, championship leader, championship winner. Sorry, Drew, not really much screen time. You've pretty much just walked away with the lead on this one. So, yeah, we'll leave you to your own devices for another couple of corners.
Yeah, of course. Trader has driven a pretty much perfect race there. He hasn't been the most consistent quickest driver over the course of the race, though he does hold the overall fastest lap at a 2:01.9. It's just been consistency that's really given Drew Trader this championship. He is fast, he is consistent, and that's really all you can say about his form over the course of this season as he exits Le Mans down the Ullman Straight, named for Alec Ullman, the founding father of Sebring. I've got his book about the early years of Sebring Raceway. It's a really nice read. But through the final corner comes Drew Trader to officially claim his championship title with a win in the final race of the season. Brilliant stuff from Drew Trader, winning the final round of the Niftylift Sportscar Series here at Sebring. Campbell finishes second ahead of Kalman Guri, who will secure championship P2. And Kyle Shelton and Morgan Smith have swapped places again there on the run up to the line.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a quick look what happened just there, because I'm not seeing it. So hang on a second. What on earth?
Yeah, that's curious. I think Shelton might have made a mistake. No, Smith was already by. Hang on.
There you go.
Hang on a minute. Oh, there it is.
Whoa.
Oh, Shelton was incredibly wide on the exit of the corner. He had to gather it up, so he lost all of that momentum. Oh, wow. You see how wide he was there. Well, Morgan Smith will duly take fourth place back, but it was mighty close at the end.
Here we go. Let's try and get a better replay here.
So Kyle Shelton on board here through into Sunset Bend, gets on the brakes, and he cranks on the steering, but the front's just not responding. Goodness me.
It's definitely unfortunate, but thankfully able to keep the thing in check. A little bit of a relief there for Morgan Smith, but nonetheless, he brings it home. And I do believe Matt Murphy is still running along with Scott Harrow as well.
Yeah, Matt Murphy and Richard Swindell's just crossing the line, with Scott Harrow being the final driver to take the checkered flag for the Niftylift Sportscar Series Season 1. And that's your final results there. Drew Trader winning from Rob Campbell and Kelman Guri. That's your podium. Smith and Shelton trading spots in the final laps there, rounding out the top five. Fozzie Fazillo, he had a quiet one in the second half of the race, but he certainly battled hard in the first half. Sixth place for him. With Swindells, Murphy, and Harrow, your final finishers. John Holloway, Tim Fiedler, and Adam Capps all retiring from the final race of the season. Shame that we didn't see the checkered flag for them, but they all had their own reasons. And, well, we'll find our way through very shortly to driver interviews here. It looks like Drew Trader has already joined us here. Officially the champion now, Drew, and you capped it off with a dominant drive here at Sebring.
Yeah, it was fun. I almost died like 3 or 4 different times there toward the end of it. I had to back it up, start slowing it down, because I was going to let Rob catch me if I didn't, because I was going to just completely kill it in 15 and 16 there.
Yeah, I noticed that all the Corvettes were having some troubles with the rear end around here, and Sebring is just a brutal track, full stop. So maybe the cars just weren't quite suited to the conditions here today.
Honestly, it wasn't bad. It just depends on how hard you just kind of got into the corner. If you tried to late brake, it would just upset the rear end. But if you just kept the corners backed up, it was fine. And that's what I kind of learned through the week when I did the few practices that I did. Just keep the corners backed up, try not to drive it in too deep, and it runs, and keep it off the curbs. That's another one, the best you can. Otherwise, it's pretty steady for the most part. Yeah,
very brutal curbs here at Sebring. Well, championship over. you've been here from the start of the season and duly taking the championship title there. We're moving on to the next stage in the coming weeks. New season of the championship, a bit of a rebrand for the series as well coming up. Are we expecting you to be out on track again?
Yeah. I should be committed to next season as well. I'm interested to see what we can do to hopefully improve the series, and also interested with the new iRacing information today that the GT3s are getting completely overhauled. So we'll see how that plays into how we drive these things, and see if maybe I have to settle my ass down a little bit, because I like to drive the heck out of it.
Absolutely. Well, you drove the heck out of it here at Sebring today, Drew. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
You guys as the broadcast, I've been enjoying going back and watching them, regardless of the finishing position, if I get to come up here or not. It's always entertaining to just sit back and just watch the broadcast back. Adam Caps, he kind of left early throughout the race, but him for putting on this great series along with Niftylift, and for what they've done for the series this season. Kind of sucks to see him not come back, but it was great to have him on board. Transcendent Motorsports and Transcendent Designs, both my team. My brother won our Oval League championship this past Thursday, so 2 traders with 2 championships in the 5-day period, 4-day period, whatever it is. So that's a nice little hurrah to that. And then Pixelsaurus Back Pocket for being on board with us this entire time as well. They do great work and great templates for vector stuff. So go check them out. And I think I'm done rambling. I can't really think of anything else. Oh, and Kalman for putting on a good battle in the entire season. Kudos to him. He kept me on my toes the entire season. So he didn't slack off one bit, even for missing a race.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Drew, and hopefully next season we'll have many more chats to you.
Hopefully so.
Well, Drew Trader in the number 25, your champion, and Kalman Giori is now with us. Zippy, you've got him for championship 2nd place.
Well, I got to say, Kalman, definitely a fun battle for you. Look like you and Rob were really going at it. Tell us a little bit about the perspective from the number 71 Acura.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. I tell you, in the beginning of the week, I was really considering changing over to the Corvette, and after a little bit of practice, I thought the Corvette was probably a little bit faster for me. But I thought starting out track position higher up here, which being more familiar with the Acura would be a better advantage for me. And so that was kind of it. You know, I tested a lot of cars this week and ended up with the Acura just so I could get the track position. Happy with the way it turned out. Middle of the race, I tell you, the Acura, I could really feel it when you heat up the tires. I had to back it down a couple laps and just kind of let them cool down a little bit, just to keep that pace. But yeah, Rob Campbell and Drew Trader they're pretty fast. It was a lot of fun though, either way.
Oh, definitely. It looked like you had a great season. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, let me plug Aerokinetics again, right? Aerokinetics team's always a great team, good support, and then obviously Adam and the Niftylift group. This broadcast is great. If anybody's looking for a fun, competitive league, go look up the Niftylift League, right? It's fun. It's better than the officials from the sense that everybody's low key. It's great racing, and people are respectful in this league. So lots of fun, man. I appreciate you guys broadcasting and everybody racing this season.
Well, I honestly could not agree more. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Kalman Gory. Came 3rd place in the race, and I believe 2nd place in the championship as well. A huge congratulations to you. But we are going to let you go and look forward to seeing you back for season 2.
All right, copy that, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Well, Zippy, that's going to be the end of things here for the Niftylift Sportscar Series Season 1. Of course, Season 2 coming up in the very near future. Looking forward to it as always, and it's been an absolute pleasure to bring the final half of Season 1 to the public with you.
Absolutely, Reese. And again, a huge thank you to the Niftylift guys, Adam Caps, Drew Trader as well, Lewis as well, Lewis Alessi. He actually got me in contact with Adam, so a huge thank you there. And I am looking forward to Season 2 going, albeit with a rebrand. We're going to have Elite Entertainment as the lead sponsor with WBM stepping up. A huge thanks to those guys as well. Not only that, for helping populate this league as well. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to get involved in this league, running GT3s on a Monday night. If you can't reach them, reach us. Leave a comment on the YouTube and we will help you find your way there. But Reese, I believe it's that time of the day. Do the honors, sir.
Indeed. Thanks so much, everybody, on the YouTube stream for watching. If you've caught us here on the later video on demand, thank you very much for clicking on this thumbnail as well. And big thanks, of course, to Niftylift and Elite Entertainment once again for bringing us this season of GT3 racing. Brilliant stuff. Here on Pit Road Productions, I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me, and also producing behind the scenes. We'll see you next time.
Niftylift is a manufacturer of aerial work platforms.
A very innovative, green-conscious company.
No other manufacturer makes anything quite like it.
Located in Greer, South Carolina.
We handle all of North America where we house parts and